Hi, everyone. Welcome to Every Horror Movie on Netflix, the podcast where we watch and review every horror movie on Netflix. I'm Patrick, and I'm here again today with Elizabeth.
Hi.
Steve.
Hello.
And Chris.
Howdy.
Now we're on this... Howdy to you as well, cowboy. We're on this mission to watch every horror movie on Netflix from A to Z. We still haven't quite made it to A yet, but we're solidly into the numbers. We've landed on the number 3 today, and we're going to be discussing Three-Headed Shark Attack. If the title doesn't tell you enough about this movie to begin with, I think the fact that it comes from this weird production company called The Asylum will do. I know Steve has brought a lot of information to the table about Asylum today, and I'm wondering, Steve, maybe you can fill us in for starters here on a little bit about what The Asylum is and just what expectations we may go into this movie with because of that.
Well, I would say your expectations should be very, very low. The Asylum they've been around since the mid-90s, 97, I think. It's an independent production company that primarily traffics in what are called mockbusters. So if you are old enough to have had the privilege of being in a brick-and-mortar video store back when those still existed, you probably remember that when, say, the first Transformers movie was coming out a few months beforehand, there was a film called Transmorphers that had a very similar font, similar cover, and that's sort of what The Asylum is about. These
Great
are
film.
Cash grab movies made for low budgets, and well, I've learned that they've never lost a dime on any of these films. So most of their films are mockbusters, but they also have their own franchises, and Three-Headed Shark Attack is one of them. It's a sequel to Two-Headed Shark Attack.
Oh, God, I didn't know this.
Is there any copyright issues with that? Do you know? Like, they don't get in trouble for...
Oh, they've been sued. They made some Hobbit films, but they they said that Hobbit was fair use, basically, because it was also... There was like some sort of Paleolithic skeleton that was discovered that was nicknamed a Hobbit, lowercase. So
Wow.
I think they won that one. But
I remember being in the video store, and these movies would always make me feel sad because I would always... It seems like their target market is like confused old people. And I could always imagine like some kid saying, "Hey, Grandma, go get Transformers for me." And she drives 20 miles through the snow to the video store and comes home with Transmorphers and like ruins the kid's week.
The two that I remember from back in the day were Thor, God of Thunder, which came out shortly after the actual Thor proper movie.
Yeah.
And the other one, and this may not be Asylum actually, but it's their same strategy. It was something along the lines of the 40-year-old virgin in big letters who got knocked up in like medium letters and felt super bad about it. Like it was their like Judd Apatow knockoff.
yeah, I don't know if that's Asylum, but it sure sounds like it might as well
does.
be.
Yeah.
So is that their business model? Is, as Bernie Sanders would say, is their core business model fraud?
I don't think so. In the reading that I've done, it sounds like they are genuinely interested in making entertaining films. Obviously, they're very opportunistic, and they don't just make mockbusters, but, it's clear what they're doing there. They're trying to cash in on the success of other films. Usually theirs come out before the studio version gets released. But they also make faith-based films. They have a whole series of movies that mimic more popular apocalyptic films, but with more God.
That's insane, because when I watched Three-Headed Shark Attack, I thought it was about as far removed from God as possible.
So is Two-Headed Shark Attack play off on Jaws?
Or any
it's
shark
just
movie,
a generic
Shark
kind of
movie.
exploitation movie. Yeah, so the shark... maybe Sharknado, but Sharknado is Asylum, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know Sharknado was a silent.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess we should note that besides all these mockbusters where they're blatantly ripping off other films, they also do just kind of like generic exploitation films in general. Like
Often for
shock
the
and awe
Sci-Fi
films.
Channel. I think right now they're producing the #1 series on the Sci-Fi, in fact.
Which is
I don't know what the quality of that... I don't know what it is. But
Well, Three-Headed Shark Attack was for Sci-Fi.
I think so,
Yeah,
it is.
It said
it said
Sci-Fi Presents at the beginning.
It starts with Sci-Fi and then the Asylum, and that kind of like sets the scene for, I don't know, what did you say a minute ago? They try and make entertaining films, and I certainly can't say that the opening of Three-Headed Shark Attack is not entertaining.
I can't say that the whole movie wasn't entertaining.
Absolutely.
It was a blast.
We start
Well,
with...
agree to disagree, but go on.
Well, we start with a beach party scene, which has like ladies laying on towels. Okay, and I just have to say what I really did like about this movie is that they clearly didn't have the money to I don't know what you call it in film, but to like Photoshop anyone. So like, yeah, they picked like sort of hot people, but also everyone's body was super real, which I did kind of like because all the ladies, like, they were pretty hot, but they also had some like cellulite and like bellies, and it was really great. But anyway, there's ladies laying on a towel, and there's like a couple in a cabana having sex, and there's like some people standing on the shore daring one another to go skinny dipping.
It's all basically, the first few minutes of this movie seem like an excuse, and this is one of the many questions I had about this movie. It's an excuse to get as much TNA in this movie as possible.
Oh, in the first 5 minutes,
first 5 minutes.
The boob per minute ratio is insane.
It's insane.
It's out of control.
It's insane. But then it's completely gone.
Yeah.
You don't see another nipple for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it
it's
draws
like they
you in.
spent the boob budget and then it was gone.
Well, I'm wondering if this is a Sci-Fi Channel movie, and maybe it was created to air on Sci-Fi Channel, but then they like kind of put this like R-rated front end on it for the like
that could be,
video
like,
market.
cut off.
Could be, yeah, because that prologue basically, they do return to that scene, but that prologue doesn't really contain any of our lead characters.
Yeah, it does.
And you could,
it contains
Hold
the
on
main
a
guy.
minute. We do see boobs outside of that scene. Still
Well, yeah.
very early in the
But
film.
it's early in the
but-
movie with the
Yeah.
but that scene doesn't need to be there either.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it could be an easy cut.
So basically, we start with just these few scenes where there's just a lot of kind of boobs out, and then it goes away. And there's a part later on where like someone clearly says shit, but it's like dubbed with him saying shoot,
yeah.
or something. So
No,
I
what he
don't know
does is
what's going on
he
here.
says the SH, but he kind of like mouths the it. I laughed so hard. I had to rewind to make sure that I heard that correctly.
So I don't know what their business model is here.
There's
It seems like they're
definitely-
in a couple
yeah.
markets with one movie.
It is weird because there's so much boobs and then it's just super clean. It's like a PG movie.
I think Chris may be onto something. I think there's like a softcore porn prologue basically that was added for the
video.
And I don't
release,
understand
yeah.
what the benefit of putting that on there is, unless it's like a pay-per-view sort of thing where people are going to watch the first 5 minutes in a preview or something
Yeah.
before they have to commit to buying
Or
it.
maybe they're going to like keep watching the whole thing hoping that there's like more boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoiler alert. You're in for
There's no more
disappointment.
boobs.
Yeah.
But anyways, this beach party ends in blood, of course, and murder as the three-headed shark immediately makes itself known. There's no fucking around with getting to the three-headed shark. And there's this astonishing shot at the end of this terrible, I mean, it's not very well rendered sequence, but it's looking out through the shark's mouth as it's like eating people. So there's like a camera inside the mouth and teeth are framing the edges of the frame. And I was just like, I've never seen that before.
No, what I love is that immediately it becomes clear the two stock, like, sort of images that are going to be used throughout the film, which are of a shark fin, like, going across a sort of generic tropical background, which you see no less than 25 times throughout the film, and, like, the ocean floor. You just see the same shot of the ocean
rippling
floor.
sand.
Like, rippling sand. Probably 15 times in the first scene alone.
And there are stock shots of the shark as well.
yeah.
At least a dozen
Yeah.
times there's like the shot where you get the full shark like sweeping by the camera.
Right. With the
there's-
heads battling each other, kind of like knocking into each other.
Yeah.
Just like, playing to the camera, too. Just vamping. It, like, comes by and it's like, rah, as it goes by the camera.
Yeah, it's one of the beach party ladies.
It struck me, too, that shot of the fin looked terrible. I mean, the shots of the actual shark look, I mean, reasonably decent for CGI in the
some of
movie.
them.
The
Some
fin looked like
okay.
a shot from like
But the
a movie made in
fin-
1964.
Yeah, I mean, that's the simplest thing to do. Like, I mean, Spielberg did that in Jaws. Like, you could have taken a plastic fin and shot that moving through the water, and it would have looked better and probably been easier than the CG fin that they terribly animated and used numerous times.
Well, let's talk about Jaws real quick, because something I thought was notable about the opening of this movie is there is no suspense with regards to the shark's reveal.
No.
They like wade out into the water, and then the shark just like jumps out of the water and like starts eating people. There's no like dread. There's no like you're not waiting. If they had the rights to the Jaws theme, there wouldn't be a place to put it in this movie, because it just never builds tension like that.
No.
Now you get your money's worth immediately and consistently throughout this film.
So once we get through this prologue, we get to the actual kind of meat of the film, which is that there's this underwater lab. There's a bunch of people on this underwater lab. There's a marine biologist and a young intern and a group of like Greenpeace type people who have been brought in to study the work they're doing at this underwater lab, and they're studying what is repeatedly referred to during the film as a garbage patch, which is a highly scientific term.
No,
Well, that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Oh, Patrick, you don't know about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch?
No.
Oh, it's a real thing.
Wow.
Edify
We will
me.
educate you. Now, I think the exact size of the garbage patch has been reported a couple different ways, and so it may be exaggerated, but I've heard it compared to the size of Texas. Have you heard that
Yep,
before?
I've heard Texas.
I've heard Texas.
Also, the patch in the movie is a real life garbage patch.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the Pacific.
So it's where all the currents basically
Converge.
end up combining bits of plastic from like around the world, and it's like just this big float. It's not like an island,
You
but
can
it's
see
like
it from space.
a big emulsion of plastic in the water, and it's
crazy.
It's very
So
depressing.
three-headed shark attack is far more topical than I ever imagined.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was like, okay, that's a cool take, I guess, to set it there.
But they're studying all these, like, they're studying the effect that the Great Pacific Garbage Patch has on, like, the surrounding environment. So, like, the creatures, the plants, they're always, like, measuring pollution levels and stuff. And they have, whatever.
The scope of their research is very broad and very ambiguous and doesn't matter much, but it's like an underwater research station.
Dude, their research facility was sweet, though. You took, like, an elevator to the bottom of the sea and
It was like a half mile down.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was sweet.
And then there's these labs filled with mutations they've collected, all of which are conveniently like no larger than goldfish, but very creepy looking. And they're like, oh, the garbage has had strange effects on the wildlife in this area.
Man, I wanted a movie about that.
Yeah,
All of the, like, mutated specimens.
yeah.
Well, I guess, I don't know if I can say this now, but, like, when the specimens escape, I was super hoping that there would be a moment when, like, that would be the focus of the movie, all the, like,
Yeah.
crazy specimens attacking people, but they just kind of showed the specimen lab with all the, like, cases and tanks empty, but then they never did anything with it.
Yeah.
There's also a lab, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but there's one lab, I forget the specific scene they walk through, and it just looks like every jar in that lab is filled with piss. Anybody else notice this?
I don't remember that.
There's just like a million jars in this lab, and they all have like the same like sickly yellow.
Could have been formaldehyde.
I
probably
guess
formaldehyde.
but it looked like piss. I've seen formaldehyde. look
Well,
like piss.
one you can drink and one is poisonous, so know the difference between formaldehyde
I do.
and urine.
Anyways, talk about not building up any tension. The shark attacks this lab
Immediately.
almost immediately. Like we set up the characters as quickly and perfunctorily as possible, and the shark immediately starts
Which I
to
say is
just
great.
wreck this fucking
Get down
lab.
to
Yeah,
it.
that's fine. That's fine.
Although there is a puzzling... Does anyone want to talk about the relationship between, like, the bro, Greg, and the intern that's confusing but somehow lasts the whole movie?
They do a good job in this movie of setting up subplots or teasing subplots and doing nothing with them.
Absolutely nothing.
So you have a small cast of like residents who are on the research station, and they're joined by basically like a Greenpeace sort of group. They're these young, like slacker kind of hippie kind of guys who are
Earth
like,
Pact.
yeah, we
Earth Pact.
gotta fight to keep our oceans safe, all that stuff. Anyway, and one of them is like seems to be the ex-boyfriend from college of one of the researchers.
But when they see each other, it's like they are looking at, like, their own ghost. Like, they're both like, you? Here? How could, like,
Yeah.
how could this be?
It seems like something that's going to arc at some point, and then it never does. It's never even.
It
brought
never
up.
does. Like, it's so bizarre.
And there's another subplot that I thought could have been interesting because much later in the movie, and we'll get to this, but there's a booze cruise or something, and there's like a character who goes up and buys a drink at the bar, and there's all this like
Yes.
sexual tension
And
between
she's
the
like,
bartender and the
she
girl.
tries to pay her, and the bartender's like, you know your money's no good here, and they like wink at each other, and I was like, dude,
Where's this going?
show
I got the sense
lesbian
that
sex scene.
that she like chartered the boat, or her dad had chartered the boat, but it just
No.
it happens and then it's
You
gone.
never even see those characters again.
Amazing
That would have been
subplot.
a great
You
opportunity
don't?
for more tits. Like,
Yeah.
there's got to be a deleted
Dude,
sex scene
it's
there.
a PG, man. Sci-Fi Channel can't show it.
Yeah, I thought for
guess so.
sure that's where they were going with the whole booze cruise.
Me
'cause
too.
There's like 30 nubile like 19-year-olds in bikinis, but
I
they're
thought for
like,
sure
no.
we were going to cut to like an orgy for 3.5
because it
minutes.
seemed like that's where it was going with the bartender and the innuendo,
But no.
no, just the shark.
So back on the Marine lab, one of the characters that really fascinated me, and I say character applying that term as lightly as possible. There's this the professor who's in charge of the whole lab is undoubtedly I don't believe this woman has ever been in any other movie that was not actual porn. Does
Oh,
anybody
sure.
else think?
Well, there are some
There's
porn
any
actresses
doubt.
in this film. I don't know about actors, but you remember the first woman who sort of the
she was
skinny
certainly,
dipping
yeah,
scene.
she was
I
a
mean,
pornography actress for sure.
Yeah, with
I don't know if
Dr.
that's true, but she cast that vibe.
Dr. Thomas, right? Is that her name?
Dr. Thomas, yeah.
Thomas, who looks like kind of a brain dead version of Uma Thurman and Batman and Robin.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Did
got
anybody else
that.
pick
Well,
on
her
that?
attitude is like that. I thought she reminded me of Tina Fey as well a little bit.
With her, like,
her
nerd
glasses.
glasses.
Her nerd glasses, and
Yeah.
I really liked her character. I thought that her acting was above par for the movie, and she was like nerdily excited about stuff, and I was into that.
I have thoughts about that as well. I liked the character and I liked her, but I think it was mostly just because she like seemed to be enjoying acting. She just seemed to love that she was performing. I don't know that she was very good, but I just loved how charming she was, you know?
I like a movie where it seems like people, especially a horror movie, where you can tell people were just having fun making it. And she's one of the
Yeah.
only people who seemed like they were having fun on the set.
Yeah. Even though she also, like, everybody kept deferring to this character as, you know, like a respected professor. Everybody, like, loves this person. She's renowned. But, like, she doesn't come across as an authoritative
She has like a
personality
southern
on
accent and
anything.
is in like a tight white t-shirt and is like, "Hey, we're
Yeah.
so happy you're here." And it's
Yeah.
like, "Professor Thomas, thank you." Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But actually, that brings up an interesting point because this movie is really interesting because it does set up these characters, and you think they're going to be main characters throughout the film, but then without any fanfare, it kills them off. Like they kind of introduce you to this woman, Dr. Thomas, and like couple scenes with her alone, you're like, okay, she's going to be like a main person in the film. She gets killed. I mean, she's only on screen for like 10 minutes.
Because she gets an
She's shark food.
introduction.
Yeah, she gets an introduction.
Because you meet her and she's scuba diving with like, it's not her, it's like stock footage of like scuba divers, and then she like comes out of off the beach like in her wetsuit, not even wearing scuba gear, and then she, you know, is changing in the locker room, and we get the TNA again, and then, you know, but then she's like dead 10 minutes later.
Yeah. Wait, can I also ask a question about that? Did any of you notice? Okay, so she's changing in the locker room and her like she's naked, and there's a screen that comes on that's like, "We'll be there in 15 minutes," and then it like she's like she doesn't do anything because she's alone, and then it comes on again. It's like actually 10 minutes.
Right, 'cause
And I
they're
was like,
watching
yeah.
her.
And I was like, are they going to walk in? I thought there was going to be like an accidental like walk in naked scene. I thought they were going to be like, actually we're here now, but again, nothing happened.
And that's what's so confusing
It's so
to me.
confusing.
Throughout this movie, there's so many things like that where it's like they took a whole bunch of screenplays and put them in a paper shredder
and just pulled
picked
them
out
out.
lines from other movies
Yeah.
that had a purpose in some other movie, and now it's just there, kind of like to kill time.
It was bizarre. But anyway, yeah, she's dead right off the bat. Great for 10 minutes, though.
So when the shark starts to attack the lab, the first thing he starts with is busting into the bathroom. There's some dude who we've never seen before who's sitting on the toilet, like taking a shit, and all of a sudden, like water starts to flow in the room. And then the shark just like busts into the bathroom. Otherwise, the station does not appear to be breached at this moment. And then the shark just starts to like lay waste to this huge
Research.
I mean, that's how Bond did it in GoldenEye. So.
coming through the toilet.
He just came in, sneaked in, killed the guy in the toilet, then all hell broke
Yeah,
loose.
but this shark is like 20 times the size of Bond.
Yeah.
It's a huge fucking shark.
I'd like to see a movie where Bond fights the shark.
I
It's
think
I
that's
guarantee
happened. I
it's
feel
been
like that
done.
actually has
I
happened. yeah.
guarantee. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I guarantee Bond's fucking
If neither
shark.
of us can think of it, it probably hasn't happened, but it should.
It's only a matter of time. They're just waiting for Daniel Craig
We're
to
just-
accept their offer.
We're just thinking of Jaws when Bond fought Jaws.
He's been in peril from sharks, but I don't know if he's actually had to fight one.
He hasn't wrestled one.
Because there was the one where they tied him up and they dragged him across a coral reef, and there were going to be sharks. But I mean, the reef was the bigger threat than the sharks. Actually, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Has Liam Neeson fought a shark?
No, but that definitely needs to
No,
happen.
he's done with action movies. Didn't you read the interview?
Yeah, so he claims.
Well, I wish you would transition to horror movies because, you know, we're not going to get there for a while because we're going in alphabetical order, but there's a movie on Netflix in the horror section called Dig Two Graves, which is the most badass name for a Liam Neeson movie.
Wait, is there a question mark in the title?
No.
Oh, the way you enunciated it sounded like dig two
It's
graves.
called- it's called
I heard a question mark
Dig
there.
Two Graves.
Okay, there we go. Now I got it.
And I was like, yeah, if that's, I don't know what it's about, but Liam Neeson should be in that movie based
He
on
should.
the title alone.
Yeah, that should be the sequel to
I
Run
think
All
that's
Night.
too close to home for Liam Neeson.
Oh,
Let's have a moment of silence.
I meant that, though.
Well,
Anyways,
back to threaded shark
back to
attack.
the
Let's
shark.
get us back on course, Patrick.
So yeah, he trashes the station. It literally explodes. Our little group of protagonists gets out just in the last moment, and they get out to a boat.
No, they are stressed out because they're trying to get to the Earth-packed boat, but they have to swim it because they can't bring it too close to shore.
Yeah, it's like 100 yards from the shore or something, or maybe less, and they all just take turns going out and getting killed by sharks.
Yeah, Dr. Thomas dies, and of course the one black dude in the movie has to die because I said this, I was like, guarantee you the black guy's gonna die, which I thought was not fair at all, but he dies.
He momentarily outswims the shark. Though.
Yeah, he had
because
an
he's
opportunity.
clearly
That blew my mind.
He's a beast swimmer in real life, for sure. And then they were like, no, he's gonna die.
Kind of. I was impressed with many of the actors in this movie. Their physiques were great. More so the women than the men.
Agree.
Which is kind of like, I don't know what this says about gender in asylum films, but like the women had like 6-packs and stuff. They were looking great.
Yeah,
the guys were kind of just like, they rolled out of bed this morning and they're kind of like,
They
got
showed up.
dad bod, but whatever.
Well, nobody's going to go see a movie like this for the guys, right?
Well,
Well, yeah.
I mean, Elizabeth.
no, I'm not ever gonna do that. So
Okay.
yes. Well, so this round of people who survive get to the boat and they're trying to call for help, and this part was a little confusing to me. They reach a sort of mysterious fishing boat instead of the Coast Guard. Can anyone?
They're on the wrong channel. So they're trying to hail the Coast Guard.
The wrong
Coast
radio
Guard,
channel.
Mayday, 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 Mayday. Is anyone out there? Smash cut to Danny Trejo picking up the receiver, and he's like, you got the wrong channel.
Right, but they tell him anyway. They're like, doesn't matter. There's a shark.
Well, yeah, he doesn't tell him what the right channel is. He's just like, hey, random fishing boat, someone's got to help us because there's a 3-headed shark.
And we should note, yes, Danny Trejo of Machete fame is in this film.
Well, his best role was in Heat, where he played Trejo.
Yes.
And it was an autobiographical story.
We've heard about Heat on this podcast before.
No, it's not the best movie, but it does a lot of things better than any other movie. And use of Danny Trejo Heat is still number one.
And
Trejo out
Trejo's
of Trejo.
important in this film too. So they reach him,
And then he's not seen for like 45 minutes after that.
yeah. But they get to
He
him.
was on set for maybe one day.
Yeah. So eventually the boat gets away, the Earthpack boat gets away, and they encounter a booze cruise, which we've already heard quite a bit about.
Yeah.
And we discover, because the shark becomes attracted to the booze cruise instead of the Earthpack boat, that the shark is actually feeding off of the pollution. And so we get our first shot of the shark like swimming along. There are just crushed aluminum cans like trailing off this booze cruise boat because there's no waste baskets on the boat or something. I don't know.
Waste baskets, Patrick.
Dude, people
Recycling bins.
People are
Excuse
also
me.
assholes. Like,
No,
you're on a booze
yeah.
cruise
Are you
in
kidding
Fiji,
me?
you're throwing your aluminum off the boat for sure.
Well, okay, but here's the other thing that occurred to me is that in that scene we talked about when they go to the bar, the bartender pours the same drink for everyone. It's a fucking liquor drink. It's in a cup, and she pours the same 2 bottles of shit into everyone's drink. You see her do it like 3
They
or 4
probably
separate
weren't
times.
allowed to actually have alcohol cans on the boat when they
They had a
When
bunch
they
of
were shooting.
they had a bunch
Yeah.
of 19-year-olds.
Yeah. Anyways, the shark is just following this constant trail of aluminum cans, and there's a great like sound effect of the shark just like crunching cans. You hear it over and over again, just like.
Yeah, so this is basically when we find out that the shark has evolved to feed on garbage.
I like that element. That was fun. It's kind of like Godzilla and radiation, but it just loves garbage and it follows garbage and feeds on garbage.
And garbage humans, in fact.
Yeah.
And
It has an
garbage
appetite for
humans.
trash, and that boat is full of it.
I gotta get something off my chest here because it's just kind of, I feel like it's an elephant in the room. The concept of a 3-headed shark, not much scarier than a 1-headed shark.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just the novelty factor of a mutant shark, I guess. I don't know if it's supposed to be
The
scary.
3 heads give it no advantage. Like, unless you're 3 people standing next to each other.
Which
does
happens
happen.
many times
It
throughout
happens
this movie.
many times.
Yeah.
But, like, are you asking me if I'm afraid of a 3-headed shark when I wade out into the water? No more so than I'm afraid of a 1-headed shark.
I don't think you're supposed to be afraid of it, though.
Oh,
or at
no.
least not
It's
more
just
so than a
novelty.
regular shark.
Well, that's something else we should mention
They're
because
just trying to be over
It
the
does
top.
serve a purpose. I mean, we'll get to it in the end, but I mean, at least for dramatic purposes, there's a reason the shark has 3 heads.
Right, but speaking of how we're not supposed to be scared of it, this isn't a horror movie. I don't know why it's on Netflix horror. I'm offended. Sci-fi at best. It miscategorized. There's nothing horrific about this movie, really.
Well, but there's so much stuff in every genre category on Netflix. Like, we're going to encounter a lot of movies that aren't necessarily horror, capital H, per se.
I guess, but this movie makes no attempt to, like, unsettle or frighten or...
This is a movie where there's blood and screaming and fucking severed limbs. It's a horror movie.
I don't know, speculative fiction, maybe. It's really looking to the future. Yeah. I don't know. I think that, obviously, like, we're centering on one genre for this, but I think trying to fit a movie or a piece of work into a particular genre, a particular category, is just kind of boring and pointless. I mean, these are marketing tools. I don't know that horror really, as a genre, means anything. There are no rules for something to be considered horror, except that they can sell it to a certain audience.
Yeah.
It's an intelligent point.
In this way, I guess it is a
maybe
horror
our
film.
first.
Maybe our first intelligent insight.
But anyways, the shark just starts to lay waste to this fucking booze cruise. And the thing that puzzled me about this whole scene is that we've already... So in this, the preceding sequence when everybody's trying to get on the boat and the shark is fucking people up as they're trying to get on this Earth-packed boat, we see it leap into the air, do this huge arc, and come just smash down on top of the boat and just snack on someone. And my question during this whole sequence is, this shark is huge. Why doesn't it just do one of those again instead of we see it like swimming back and forth, like trying to rock the fucking boat, trying to like grip onto the fucking paddle wheel that powers the boat, which was also puzzling to me why there's like a fucking like St. Louis steamboat.
Mark Twain was on the booze cruise.
Yeah.
Well, it does end up jumping onto the booze cruise and snacking on people. But the bigger question is why a thing of that size wouldn't completely annihilate a boat. I mean, it jumps onto the boat, snatches up 3 people. That thing has to weigh like a ton.
Right.
And then the boat is perfectly fine afterward. The shark jumps on, lands on deck. We see a shot of the shark on the deck of the booze cruise, snacks on a few people, then jumps back off. The boat is perfectly intact.
Well, and we just saw it plow through the fucking laboratory, which is, you know, conceivably made of like layers of fucking steel and shit. Just like plowed through that like it was cardboard. But
well, they
like,
even mentioned
that paddle boat really gave it a challenge.
There's even a line where they're like, you saw that shark just destroyed the whole research station. What do you think it's going to do to this boat? Or something like that.
Apparently nothing.
That's actually I just said the 3-headed shark's not that scary. The 3 heads isn't what makes it scary. The unsung ability of it to leap out of the water and like crawl around on land is the competitive advantage of the 3-headed shark.
That is impressive.
They should have called it like land shark or air shark.
I thought of land shark, the old like SNL land shark skit a couple times while I was watching this. But yeah, on this booze cruise, we're introduced to 3 new completely useless characters. There's a like young couple. There's a girl and her completely idiotic boyfriend who gets saved.
The girl's name is Rosemary.
Do we even have to talk about characters?
Dude, it doesn't matter.
They don't matter.
This movie is about character replacement. Like, some people die.
It's a revolving door.
It is. A few people die, we bring in a few more people. That's like the
high turnover.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's like the Burger King of movies.
It's like the White House.
It basically is.
It's kind of bizarre for such a low budget movie too. I mean, that there's so many characters.
Yeah, they don't need that many.
They had to pay these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
presumably.
that was weird.
I mean, maybe some of them are just there for the fun of it. I mean, they certainly don't seem qualified to be in a film, most of these actors, but
yeah, but we get a few new people, whatever, including this like dude named Stanley,
grist for the mill.
And I mean, we've been on this boat for a while, and it's like all young, like college kids partying, and we've not seen hide nor hair of anybody really over the age of 22.
No. With the exception
other
of
than the
boat
captain. Yeah, the captain.
Yeah, you would never expect like a 45-year-old professional wrestler to be on this boat.
But he is.
And so this girl's boyfriend, who's a complete moron, gets thrown overboard or something. I don't know. Stanley like catches him at the last moment.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, because all right, so there's a couple.
Rosemary gets thrown overboard.
There's a couple.
Oh, I thought the boyfriend got thrown.
Sorry.
There's a couple, and they're like trying to like find a place to make out. Apparently, we're thinking, all right, there's gonna be some more TNA in this movie. She like falls overboard when the shark attacks, and he's like very impotently like trying to bring her back up, and he can't do it. And then this like 45-year-old professional wrestler called Stanley is like, "Hey, I got you," and he just like lifts her up with one arm.
Well, you see his like meaty forearm first. You just like see like a voice that's like, "I've got you," and then like yanks her up, and like she just lands on deck. And And she's like, oh.
And he's never been seen before.
Never
at
been
this
seen
point in the
before,
film.
becomes a main character.
Unnamed. And like straggly blonde hair. He was just like such a fascinatingly weird looking guy.
Yeah.
And I liked him a lot, actually. I would see another movie with him. He's actually a wrestler. His name is
he is a
Rob
wrestler.
Van Dam.
Wow.
And I don't think he's WWE, but he may have been. He's from
Is he related to Jean-Claude?
He looks like he could be, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah, he does
But
a
it's
bit.
not the same spelling. It's Van Dam, D-A-M. Rob Van Dam. And he's 46 years old. And
I think he's in a few Asylum films.
oh, and
He's a regular.
he's definitely 100% was in WWE.
Wow.
So
Did you say he was from Battle Creek?
he's from Battle Creek, Michigan.
Local boy.
Local boy.
Love him.
So, and he's fun for what it is. If you're gonna make a terrible movie, cast some over the top campy badasses in it instead of just these like millennial guys who rolled out of bed and they can't even act.
He was interesting. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
He was like, to me, like, what's the phrase when you say that you're like worlds above other people? He was like significantly a better actor than everyone else in the movie to me.
well, yeah, and until that point, you think Danny Trejo is going to be the ultimate badass of the movie, but then
Well,
at this point,
I argue that he still is.
He might be.
He's just a selling point for this movie.
Yeah,
He
but-
doesn't play nearly as big of a role as I would have liked.
Trejo hasn't been in this, even though he was just hailed. He was like, "I'll be right over," like he hasn't been seen for a half hour, and
Yeah.
then there's just this like, "Hey, I got you. I'm a wrestler." Badass. Loved him.
Okay, so basically, yeah, the booze cruise gets destroyed. A couple people survive from that, including the like girl, her moron boyfriend, and the WWE dude. They replace some of the Earthpack people who have died, and they are all now heading out on two boats because there's the Earthpack boat still, and then a pontoon that was like related to the booze cruise that half of the team takes because there's too many people for the Earthpack boat. So they're trying to get to the Coast Guard, trying to get to land. I don't really know, but they're in two boats trying to get away from the shark.
And I was really confused as to like how a pontoon can outrun this shark. I mean, we all have some experience with pontoon boats.
True.
Yeah, that was strange. Well, it doesn't.
I guess,
Well,
right?
yeah,
I
because
mean,
Trejo finally shows up to save the fucking day. Trejo fucking arrives. He sees the shark. He opens up this compartment on the back of the boat, which led me to question, like, what is his occupation? They have to be drug runners? Are we, like...
I don't
thought
think
it was a
insinuating
fishing boat,
they're
but
quote unquote fishermen.
Yeah, that's right. They're fishing.
they
at the
don't
beginning.
have a backstory.
But there's a compartment on the boat full of, like, assault weapons.
Make up your own reason why, because this
This is
movie
just
does
another
not care.
the movie
Unsolved
just
mystery.
needed guns at this point. Like
Yeah.
that's it. There's no reasoning behind it.
Yeah. And so we have a great scene. Oh, and I kind of forgot this earlier detail. The other thing that I loved about Trejo is that he's first seen by the gut. Like, the first image you see of Trejo is just, like, his protruding gut with, like, this fisherman's vest over it and, like, a huge tattoo. And then it, like, pans up to his face. And it's like, it's Danny Trejo's gut? No, it's Danny Trejo. But anyways, they're fucking shooting the shark. The shark, like, jumps onto Trejo's boat. Meanwhile, our quote-unquote protagonists are, like, making their way to the shore while Trejo and his crew distract the shark. The shark is, like, literally, like, sitting. It's just, like, flopping on the front of Trejo's boat in the water. And Trejo is just, like, just shooting it in the face with a fucking, like, AK-47. He runs out of ammo. Or no, it's not an AK-47. He has, like, just a handgun at that point because he runs out of ammo. And he, like, throws the gun and pulls out a fucking machete.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is just giving you full-on machete. It's, like, surprise machete cameo, basically.
I wouldn't expect any less.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't expect that at all, I guess. But,
I mean, the movie
but I was
just
thrilled that it happened.
it does what it wants.
And then Machete, Trejo, whatever the fuck, I don't think he's ever named in the movie, actually. But he lops off.
No, he has a name. He's Mike Burns.
Mike Burns.
Mike Burns. This is Mike Burns.
Mike Machete Burns.
So whatever.
But yeah, he lops off the shark's middle head somehow. It's pretty unclear
And they
how that happens.
and they assume that signifies death.
Yeah.
And this actually happens. So the shark has destroyed the pontoon boat. Some of the
Dead.
people are dead, but there's like 3 or 4 people still surviving who make it to land and encounter a dude from the original scene who is like covered in fake blood and non-communicative.
He's
just
got like post-traumatic
yeah,
shark
he has
disorder.
PTSD. Yeah. Literal PTSD. Oh, that was your joke. Good one. So, whatever. So they're like, Danny Trejo, the shark suddenly leaps onto shore. Danny Trejo comes from behind and lops off the middle head. They think that all is well after that.
Yeah.
Then Trejo just gets eaten by the shark corpse because its two heads are still kicking, and
Yep.
it starts growing like 4 more heads where the one was cut off.
Because it's a Hydra. Best part of the movie.
Which was great, actually, because when we were watching that, we were like, I think you were like, it's dead. And I was like, no, it's definitely going to come back. And you were like, dude, what if it's a Hydra and it grows extra heads? And I was like, I don't think they would go that far. But then it grows 3 more heads.
Amazing.
You
Best part
should
of the
write
movie.
for Asylum. I mean,
I should. Well, what I was disappointed
Right
about.
for Asylum.
What I was disappointed about is that the other, like, that this shark didn't end up with 9 total heads, because I fully think that if you're gonna give us the impression or tell us it's a Hydra, you better fucking cut off the other 2 original heads and have 3 more heads sprout in those places too. Lame
That would be sweet if it wound up as a 9-headed shark.
that it didn't.
There's a lot of ways to make this movie more entertaining.
Okay, anyway, whatever. Shark has a bunch of heads. They decide that the only way to kill it is to have it eat itself.
Yeah, they want to
Right.
take it out to the garbage patch, and it's going to get so excited by all the garbage, it's going to go into a feeding frenzy, and its new heads, and all its heads are not going to be able to tell the difference between the shark and the garbage, and all that. They're just going to eat each other. And
I'm glad you described that with that degree of clarity, because I couldn't figure out what the fuck the plan actually was in the movie.
I thought
that
it was
was the
pretty
plan.
clear.
And it worked out.
Kind
I
of an
guess.
awesome plan.
It works out in the end, I guess. That's what they do.
Works
and that's
out.
like end credits.
Yep.
Yeah, they lead
Oh,
it
it
out
just
to the,
ends. Yeah.
Oh, it
it's
ends
so abruptly.
They lead it out to the garbage patch.
No one's supposed to see the end of this movie. This movie is made for people who are watching this on the couch at 3 a.m. and they're like 12 beers deep and
just
they
popped
pass
in there at the
out
end.
45 minutes in.
That's a good point, actually.
Who
It
else
really-
would watch this movie?
Right, wait, but what is the ending?
No, the ending is the 2 lone survivors from all these experiences
The who are the boyfriend
The
and
ex-boyfriend and
intern.
girlfriend.
Yeah,
Right.
the
are
ex-boyfriend
like
girlfriend.
Oh, right.
sitting on the back of the boat, and they're like, we did it, and they're kind of dangling their feet in the water, and all of a sudden she quickly turns to him and she goes, get your feet out of the water, and they stand up and end credits.
Cut to black.
Oh, there's a helicopter like coming in
Yeah,
for the rescue.
Yeah.
too.
CGI like Coast Guard helicopter to pick them up.
Yeah.
Bizarre. Very strange.
I was disappointed that we didn't see more of that shark eating itself also.
Well, yeah, because it wasn't clear enough to me. But no,
Yeah, the
you know
water
what?
just got super bloody, and it was like, what's happening?
Well, here's something about Asylum. I mean, it's a pretty small company. I think they have 30 staffers, and they hire an average of 30 freelancers for each
Ooh,
movie.
do they need 4
But-
more?
I would love. I actually looked to see if they have any job openings. I would love to work for Asylum, but they have a very small like CG department. I mean, it's like 9 people, and they're usually working on 5 or 6 movies at once, which is why so much footage gets recycled, haha, in this
Yeah.
movie. And you know why I think there are things that they would have loved to pull off that they just didn't have the time to render.
I don't know, because I got the feeling watching this movie that the people who made it were very content to be mediocre.
Sure. I mean, I read one story about how they literally, like, the day before shooting a particular scene for, I think, Atlantic Rim, the Pacific Rim mockbuster.
Oh my God.
Great title. Apparently Del Toro approves of it as well. They like, what the director had a hot waitress at Hooters and said, you want to be in a movie? We'll pay you like $300. And so she's in the movie for, one day of the shoot, a couple of scenes.
Wow.
Like, most of these people are not professionals.
No.
So it's a good way to make a living, and so more power to them. Any critique I have of the movie, at the end of the day, they're making their careers doing this stuff, probably having a ton of fun. Good for them.
I completely agree.
Doesn't mean I want to watch any other stuff, but they're making it work. They're finding people who want to buy it. Great work, guys.
I hope we don't have to watch any more Asylum films. I feel like we should just skip them if we come to them, because
Hey.
we know what we're going to get.
Every horror movie on Netflix.
Oh, God damn
Yeah.
it.
I think we're about approaching the view it, cue it, screw it portion of things, but I know, Chris, you have at least one shark fact to share.
Well,
right?
I have a shark fact to share because, we see so many movies about killer sharks these days, and I just want to bring to the audience attention that since you've been listening to this podcast, 8,562 sharks have been killed by humans.
Dude, I don't even believe you.
It's
there's
absolutely
no
true.
way.
No, that's
not possible.
Explain your math.
Yeah, explain.
the math is if you look at the estimates of how many sharks are killed each year
Whose estimate?
by humans.
Yeah, where are you getting your facts?
This comes from the journal Marine Policy, who tried to calculate the number of sharks being killed. They used data on shark catches, discards, and mortality rates worldwide. They estimate that approximately 100 million sharks are killed per year by humans. And that's their conservative estimate. It could be as high as 273 million sharks per year. So that adds up to, if you do all the math, 11,417 sharks per hour. So they're dying, and that's why, we got, this is anti-shark propaganda. No one ever cares about the sharks because they're almost exclusively portrayed as, monsters in movies and culture. But, it's a serious issue. On the other hand, sharks only kill about 10 and a half or 11 or something people each year.
So a real horror film would be a film from the perspective of the sharks.
Yeah, a family of sharks, some Finding Nemo where they're getting finned and they're getting illegally poached. And
We should make that.
yeah.
I mean, do you think this movie is really perpetuating the myth that sharks are unstoppable human-killing machines?
No, but this is the only chance I'm going to have to tell our listeners that until we get to Avalanche Sharks. So,
Which is not that far away.
which is
I
not
did not
far.
realize it was a shark movie before the Sharknado franchise. Wow.
Yeah, Avalanche Sharks at least, and then Deep Blue Sea is on there now.
Is it Avalanche Space Sharks?
Yes.
Okay.
Colon?
No,
That doesn't make any sense.
it looks
Colon,
like
the fear strikes again.
So, Elizabeth, when it comes to Three-Headed Shark Attack, would you suggest that people view it, cue it, or screw it?
I would say screw it. You don't need to watch this movie. I'm not personally offended by this film. I agree with everything Chris said before. They're doing what they're doing, and I think that's great, but you don't need to waste your time watching it. And we did it for you. That's all. Screw it.
Steven, would you view it, cue it, or screw it?
Screw it, without question. I mean, I had fun, but I wouldn't recommend anybody sit through this. Even if you're just gonna get high and eat pizza with your friends and watch something stupid, there are better bad movies than this.
Christopher, would you view it, cue it, or screw it?
Well, the problem with this movie is I say screw it 100%. We've been talking a lot about how fun the movie is, but it really comes down to how do you want to spend your time, because all the moments of entertainment that are in this movie could have fit into 20 minutes, and they're padded with so much just stuff that's just interminable. Like the survivors they move from one boat to the next boat, and it's like a 6-minute scene of them climbing down the ladder one by one, and nothing's happening, just killing time. This is a movie that has no respect for your time. It's not really trying to be anything more than subpar at any point. Don't waste your time. There's better shark movies out there.
Yeah, I mean, anything that we've gotten excited about in this podcast is because we had to sit through the whole movie. So, an exciting moment was super exciting for us because we had to sit through it, and it was an hour and a half of time. So, it won't be the same for you because you don't have to do it.
We're like those depraved prison inmates who it's like, wow, I got a Victoria's Secret catalog.
Right.
This is the most erotic moment of my life.
Yeah, exactly. That's us. Depraved prison inmates.
Guys, I've been super conflicted about figuring out how to rate this movie. Because
Well, the time is now.
I know. I'm telling you all about it right now. I'm breaking it down. Because basically, if you're thinking about watching a movie called fucking Three-Headed Shark Attack in the first place, and if you've looked at the picture that's on Netflix and you've read the description of it, I think you're probably not going to be disappointed. You already know what you're getting in for, and, I don't think it promises any more than it delivers. I don't think it's a very good movie, though, and I definitely got bored at some parts. I also had a lot of fun with some parts. So I'm going to say, if you want to watch the fucking movie, if you're thinking about watching Three-Headed Shark Attack, go ahead and cue it. You can do worse things with your life.
I don't think this is the best. I think the title Three-Headed Shark Attack holds a lot more promise than what we got in this movie.
I don't. I feel like I got pretty much everything that I could have hoped to see in a movie called Three-Headed Shark Attack.
What was this movie missing for you, Chris?
Well, you can have a movie that's silly and built around an outrageous concept and is just kind of really out there and sensational, but also just is a quality movie and has good writing. And
You're telling me you would expect a movie called Three-Headed Shark Attack to be a quality film? I mean, it delivers on its promise of a three-headed shark attacking not only people, but itself, which I never could have imagined.
You're right. I'm going to say view it. No, I kid. I kid, but I see your
Three-Headed
point.
Shark Attack, I kid.
I see your point.
I mean, there may yet be a movie that does proper justice to the concept of a three-headed shark attack, and if there is, hopefully it'll wind up on Netflix, and we'll review it. But in the meantime, we're going to be watching A Dark Song for next episode, so stay tuned for that next week. Until then, I'm Patrick,
I'm Elizabeth.
I'm Steven.
I'm Chris.
and this is Every Horror Movie on Netflix.
Ta-ta.